What's up, guys? Jeff Cavalier, ATHLEAN-X.com. Today is time that we fill those shirt sleeves a little bit, get the arms a little wider, right? Because we know that you don't always have to try to go for height. If we can make something wider here with our arms, we're still, if we put a tape measure around it, we're going to fill those sleeves a little bit more.
Still getting bigger.
You're going to get bigger. Speaking of getting bigger, Jesse, why don't you show them a little bit of your hard work? We're filling some shirt sleeves here too. Let's see it from the other side, from the back. Okay, looking pretty good, but now let's see it from straight on.
Wah, wah.
Right, it's not as impressive, right? So what Jesse actually has is a little bit of thinness when looked at straight on. It's actually a very common problem that people have. What we need to do is we need to discuss why that is and what we could do about it. So you probably heard about this muscle called the brachialis. Right? And the brachialis is a muscle that actually sits up here on the upper arm, crosses over, crosses the elbow, controls flexion of the arm, just like the biceps does, but that's all it does. It doesn't have the extra benefits of supination like the biceps does, or actually shoulder flexion. But that actually comes to our advantage and helps us to actually train it better. So when we're talking about the brachialis, so you really know what we're really trying to hit, you actually can feel this on yourself. If you look at the side of my arm here, okay, when I flex the bicep, if you were to take your fingers here and grab right a hold of that long head of the bicep, right? You'll be able to literally dig your fingers right off of the edge there. And from there now, you can see that we have the tricep back here, right? But we have this muscle that's popping out right in here. And if you actually were to feel that, it probably gets a little bit sore on you because it's a common area of a trigger point for people, for anybody that does any kind of upper body training tends to get a trigger point right in through the brachialis. Okay, but what more importantly, what you need to realize is because it shares functions with the biceps, if you don't train it right, you're not going to have wide enough arms. If you don't train it often enough, you're not going to have wide enough arms. If you don't train it the right way in terms of how you approach each set that you do of the exercises I'm going to show you, you're probably not going to have wide enough arms. Firstly, let's talk about the exercises themselves. You probably try to hit this at minimum with some hammer curls. And if you're not doing any kind of hammer curls at all, guys, you're not really hitting this muscle as effectively as you can. Why? Because anytime you involve any sort of supination while bending the elbow, you're going to shift the focus over to the biceps and off of the brachialis. So a hammer curl is putting you in a neutral grip position as you see me doing the exercise here. My knuckles are pointing straight ahead. I've got a neutral grip here on those dumbbells, and we're sort of halfway in between supinated and pronated. So you're still getting a little bit of bicep activation, not to mention the fact that the biceps are flexing the elbow too. That's one of their jobs. So what can we do to actually turn the biceps off a little bit more? Well, we want to take ourselves out of supination and put us into pronation. So you don't want to do just a hammer curl. You want to do a cross-body hammer curl like you see me doing here. And you can see instantly by going into this cross-body position, I've actually pronated the forearm even more. And all I'm doing now is worried about flexing and extending the elbow from that pronated position. And I keep my arm really up close against my chest. That is the absolute best way to focus much of the effort on the brachialis and help to build that muscle up over time. But beyond that, guys, I have other options for you. You guys know that I like bodyweight training. You guys know that I love the chin-up. We actually can use a variation to help us to build bigger arms and more specifically the brachialis. Because what we could do is instead of doing chin-ups that actually focus more on the bicep because we have to take an underhand grip and that supinates the forearm and puts us more in a biceps preferential exercise, we can turn ourselves over into a pull-up, but get our grip really, really narrow. What's the narrow grip doing? It's bringing our arms and pronating them even more, getting them close and almost mimicking the same action we just had there on that cross-body hammer curl. So now, as you see me going up here and doing this exercise, I'm really trying to not just do a pull-up here like this where I'm not closing down the angle, I'm trying to close the angle down of the elbow. Right? As I pull up, I'm trying to pull up and close the angle down. Almost a reverse curl, flexing here, but we're using our entire body weight, which is another great way, obviously, to overload our muscles here. But let's say it's difficult for you, because that's a hard exercise. You don't get off that easy. I got another option for you. All you have to do is lay here on your back in an inverted row setup, and you do the same thing. You take a very narrow overhand grip, and when you pull your body up, it's not about rowing your elbows back behind your body, because that wouldn't close this angle down enough to work the brachialis as much as you could. What you want to do is instead, you want to try to pull your body by pulling your back of your forearms up into your chest. This will light up this brachialis more than you've ever experienced before, but over time, it's going to build it up, and that is the point. Remember, guys, if you can get wider, you're still going to have bigger arms because whether you're building out in this dimension or whether you're building out in this dimension, your arms are going to respond and start to fill those shirt sleeves. One final point in terms of how you train these. Because we know that muscles will be recruited sort of in a sequential pattern in the order of demand. If we go really hard, really heavy, accelerate our reps, no matter what exercise we're doing, we realize that the biceps are going to be called into action because it's one of their 3 functions. But we can actually sort of try to taper that down as well by going a little bit slower with our movements. So realizing that the first portion here, the lower portion of this curl from straight to about mid-range is going to be handled more by the brachialis anyway, and from the mid-range up, the biceps will take over a little bit more, especially as we get shoulder flexion involved. Go a little bit slower on the reps. Take it a little bit more deliberately so that as you're coming up, you can ensure that more of that work is being done by the brachialis. Remember, it's a shared function, guys, so there's only a few things we can do to try to minimize that and then accentuate what the brachialis is doing. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful. Jesse's going to start getting bigger, thicker arms from the front too. Every angle is going to look good, and so will you if you start following this advice. If you're looking for a step-by-step program, they're all over, guys, over at ATHLEAN-X.com. We lay it all out for you, put the science back in strength. Put the anatomy where we need to because it matters, guys. Those are all built into all of our programs over there. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, leave your comments and thumbs up below. Let me know what you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that for you in the days and weeks ahead. All right, see you soon.